Well, I'm making this video today because we received the decision from the multi-agency pathway regarding Teddy's second meeting at panel. The school that he's now currently at took the paperwork and resubmitted it in January, and today we got a letter that's not signed by anybody, that hasn't got an address on, basically saying that we need to rule out whether the ear, nose and throat appointment they had in January is causing the behaviour that Teddy's presenting, and also to give time to the strategies that we've put in place for him. Now, Teddy's paperwork was submitted last year by nursery, where he was receiving early years funding, and the panel met in August and decided to basically give Teddy more time, or the school more time that he was transitioning to implement the strategies that were recommended by the educational psychologist. Now, this meeting, they haven't mentioned the educational psychologist at all, despite her meeting him again in December and writing a new report where she said her recommendation would be to be referred. I assumed at the time she meant to see a paediatrician. However, in the letter that we received today, it does say that they don't feel like referring him at the minute for a ADHD diagnosis would be beneficial, because that can't happen until he's 7, which isn't true, because he's presented with the same behaviour since he was 2. There's boundless amounts of evidence to prove that he's not like his peers. Also, I'm interested in that somebody's actually written, obviously I don't know who's written this letter because nobody's actually bothered to put their name on the bottom of it, that Teddy has anxiety, which he shows signs of anxiety. Nobody's actually diagnosed him with anxiety. We were recommended to go on a couple of courses to deal with that. Now, one's understanding mental health, so absolutely nothing really to do with anxiety directly, and it doesn't give you strategies. It's literally just explains what mental health is, and was presented within an hour. And the other one we're going to go on next week, so I'll find out a bit more about that next week. So the letter today recommends that we go and speak to the lead on the paperwork, who is the head teacher. Now, as you all know, Teddy was not included in his nativity, and I feel like ever since then, myself personally and the head teacher just don't get on. We're not going to see eye to eye. This has led to a few incidents, and a big incident last week, which included his focused learning, putting him on his own for the rest of the day to learn. What's that called? People of my age call it isolation. It is isolation. He wasn't learning with the rest of the children. And I've since refused to go into the school grounds. I've not been into the school grounds. I've had very limited contact with school, replying to the letters that have been sent home with regards to just bog standard stuff, and writing in the homeschool book where needed. So the quandary that I have is, we've got Claire Linfit, who told me not to get to prepare myself for perhaps disappointment, because she sits on the panel, and this is regarding his educational healthcare plan, that he's just a lively little boy, and words to those effect, if I haven't got a verbatim. we have Mr. Powell's from Broadening Horizons, who seems to echo her sentiments, and he also sits on the said panel. So we've got the multi-agency pathway that don't want anything to do with Teddy. I already know now there's 2 members of the panel that will be looking at Teddy's paperwork in the near future with regards to his educational healthcare plan, basically saying, you know, doesn't look like he's got SEN, despite, as I said previously, he was receiving early years funding. And no parent genuinely wants to label their child. I don't give a fig, to be fair. Teddy's Teddy, and no professional or anybody's opinion is going to change that for me. I have lost the will to fight anymore. Don't want to argue with anybody. I've got a handful of professionals saying that he needs a diagnosis. I've got a handful of professionals saying he doesn't even display anything other than active child behaviour. Most people who meet Teddy know that he's a little bit different. Not outrageously so, he's just not the same as his peers, which is something that I say all the time. I've been really reluctant to plaster any of this on social media or go to the papers. We're very limited with who we share this information with, because we don't want it to affect Teddy in the long run, because at the minute he's quite oblivious. He doesn't care, he enjoys school, likes going. We want it to stay that way, but when you've been told for a year and a half that your son is different by many different people that you meet, and you're told to go on courses. So we had somebody come in December and deliver us a stepping stones course, and I was told that I had to do that in order to basically tick the box, so that when the panel met to discuss Teddy's needs, they couldn't say, oh well, you know, we think the parents need to go on a stepping stones course. So I've done that. I'm doing understanding challenging behaviour through the college. That's something I've done off my own back. I've done the considered behaviour training. That was through NELF. I've done everything I possibly can, and I challenged the access pathway decision back in August, at the same time that my son got excluded from school. Again, challenge that. Every time I challenge the school, it feels like there's never an alternative as to what the school's provided. The school is, right, this is what we've done, and it couldn't have been done any different. That is what it is. If you don't like it, follow the complaints procedure. Well, I did that the first time with the exclusion and the governor's closed ranks. I got a letter back to the effect saying that we consider the matter closed, and with regards to the nativity, I raised my concerns. I did receive an email apology, that is fact, but the apology was for handling the situation differently, not for not including him in the nativity. Nobody is sorry, apparently, from that school for him not being included. And you wonder why I'm going to struggle to speak to the lead on the agency pathway stuff. It's a bind having to ring Sendias. Thank God they're there, don't get me wrong, I'm not knocking the service, but having received a letter today, it's another thing on the list of things to do. So I'll have to speak to Sendias, because, as I say, I've received a letter that's addressed from nobody, with no right to reply except for through the head. Have they considered issues where some parents might not want to do that, might not feel comfortable doing that? So I've got no option but to speak to Sendias really and go through them to sort of see if we can get the paperwork resubmitted at some point. So again, we're waiting. What I don't understand is, I've had the health visitor involved, I've had Young Minds Matter involved, I've had the Family's First practitioner, I think, but don't quote me on that. Basically somebody from a family hub involved, because that's who set us on the pathway in the first place. I've got nobody to ring. Who am I supposed to ring? There's no helpline number. You have to really search to find this information out on the internet, and it's really, really draining. Yes, instead of being sat doing this video, I could be searching for the information that I need, but there's no guarantee that I'm going to get it right. There's no guarantee that I'm going to be knocking on the right door, so it's just going to be a waste of time. I've kind of come to the decision that for the next couple of days at least, I'm going to park the information from this letter and my decision of where we're going to go from here, because I feel that it's not the right decision to wait even longer. I've now been on the access pathway panel twice, if you like, done 2 cycles of it. Both times it's just sort of a watch and wait approach, and if they're going off age, does ADHD know what an age is? Does Teddy know anything about age? Does he think, oh right, at 7, oh right, okay, so instead of it being perhaps developmental delay, perhaps it's ADHD now? ADHD doesn't know anything about age, and at the minute we're a family that are on the edge because school aren't meeting his needs. We're meeting his needs at home because we're his family and that's what we do. But all these professionals that have all stuck their oar in, and that's what it is, because if you're going to have an opinion and not actually reach out and help, genuinely help, say this is what we're going to do next, and if that doesn't work, that's what we're going to do, and if you need help, this is who you're going to ring. And not just be a case of, oh well, we've got to go over this hurdle, so it doesn't matter now. You know, I've done my bit. It's not good enough. So, I'm quite aware, I've been rambling on now for 13 minutes, and the washing machine's on, the tumble dryer's on, and I'm looking great. If you've stuck with me this far, thank you. I'm sure I'm not the only one that feels this way. My son's 4. I see many of you that have got children that are a lot older than my boy, and you've been waiting years, and I'm now sort of more or less a year into this. It's horrid. Really, really horrid, and it can't continue. It's not fair. It just can't continue. So I'm going to mull it over for a few days what my next step is, but yeah, just kind of wanted to share it all with you really, and document this so that I can then pass it on to other people instead of having to say the same thing over and over again, which I keep finding myself doing all the time. Yeah, so thanks for listening.